Welcome to Moose and the Loose. My name's David. Today, Pierre Poilievre drops a bombshell, at least in the political world. He drops his immigration/housing high-level plan. And this is something he hasn't talked about at all. But before we get that, there was a housing accelerator photo op in Edmonton today, and Trudeau was throwing a bit of a tantrum with his responses. They set the context for Poilievre talking about his immigration/housing. He talks about foreign students. The whole thing is wrapped up in one bundle. But first, we've got Danielle Smith here ripping Stephen Guilbeault in the most professional manner, which is pretty funny.
It is going to be an exciting time for our province and for Canada, especially once we finally get a federal government that acts like a strategic partner rather than a delusional adversary.
So first off, I've noticed Justin Trudeau, he keeps calling homeless or homelessness houselessness. He's changing this word to make it sound more friendly. Just check it out.
Or to be able to help on the Reaching Home program, another close to $10 million in specific investments for Indigenous houselessness, which we know is a real challenge.
Indigenous, houselessness, it's just someone who doesn't have a house,
We're not dumb, man. You can't make up a word and then somehow make that situation better. It doesn't work like that. After this housing accelerator photo op nonsense, they started asking questions as usual. And the first one was about Danielle Smith. And it's very interesting because Trudeau is in Edmonton and Danielle Smith is in Edmonton.
The Premier today put out a statement saying that it's unfortunate that you did not invite her to sit down and talk today. You're in Edmonton. She's here. So why didn't you sit down and invite her to talk?
I am always happy to meet with any premier whenever they ask me to meet.
So she should have asked for a meeting then.
Next question.
His eyes are like, yeah. He knows full well that his itinerary gets updated the day of, so there's no way for her to know that. So there's no way for her to invite him when she doesn't know when he's coming into town or where he's moving around. So he has to invite her. Let's get real, man. He obviously just didn't want to talk with her. Just be a man and say it. Man up, Trudeau. Take off the diaper, man up. Next up, they bring up Pierre Poilievre and his comments, and his tone changes here.
The Conservative leader says your bill on hate is about banning speech you hate, and he also called you someone with a woke authoritarian agenda who spent the first half of his adult life as a practicing racist. What's your response to that?
My response to the substantive part of that question is Mr. Poilievre hasn't even seen the legislation we're about to put forward next week. He's already telling people exactly what it is and what it isn't. I think responsible leadership is about dealing in facts, actually reading a piece of legislation before he starts telling people what he thinks it does, and then having a rigorous debate in Parliament about how to best protect kids. He's not interested in that.
Oh, please, Trudeau. Rigorous debate. This is the guy who's like switched out 3/4 of the Senate with his own senators who are apparently neutral, but they're really liberals. This is the most corrupt person in Parliament in Canadian history.
Interested in hurling insults, in distracting from the fact that he has no plan on housing. He has no plan on childcare. He has no plan on fighting climate change and creating good jobs for the future. He has no plan in terms of building and protecting the kinds of jobs.
We're going to talk about his immigration/housing plan at the end here, but this is just typical Trudeau tantrum.
That people are going to rely on in a transforming world. What does he have a plan for? He's a plan for stoking division, creating fear, throwing out personal insults. That's not leadership. Canadians deserve a government that is focused every day on building a better future for them. That's what I'm doing here today. He can throw whatever insults he likes. I look forward to having substantive debates on how we're going to fix the challenges Canadians are facing, because we're busy doing that while he's busy ranting.
This is hilarious. They're like, can you do that in French now?
In French, boss.
Sorry?
En français.
La deuxième partie en
La
français?
première partie en français.
This guy talking about leadership is just give me a break, man. Everyone's suffering. You're like the worst leader ever. Every time I see these housing accelerator photo ops, all I can think about is the last one in Vancouver where Jonathan Wilkinson was getting stunk out by Trudeau's egg farts.
Kremlin, and we need to make sure that we're continuing to be there for them. Canada will be there for Ukraine with as much as it takes, with as long as it takes, despite Conservatives, politicians pulling back their support for Ukraine free trade.
How sour of a fart did Trudeau rip? It just, I'm always looking at the guys behind him now. This one is no different.
Initiative, whether it's the Reaching Home program against homelessness.
He's like, what's
whether
that,
it's
Trudeau?
the apartment construction, the affordable home program fund, the affordable home
He's found
fund,
something, man.
which actually led to this place, has all been about building more locations, building more units for people who need it.
Trudeau's got those stinky escargot egg farts. I swear, every time he's just ripping them, silent but deadly. That's all he's good for. That's all he's good for. Next up, this dingbat is a question about housing and immigration. This is where we're getting to the real meat and potatoes of this.
Prime Minister, when it comes to the housing and rental crisis in this country, we hear a lot of it has to do with the number of new Canadians coming into Canada. What conversations is your government having on that regard?
One of the great strengths of Canada is that we are open to immigration from around the world. Over the past years, we've had a more or less steady number of permanent residents accepted every year, about 460 this year. We're moving up to 500,000 in the coming years. But that's the number that is easily absorbed and right to keep our economy growing, to keep our workforce full, and to keep things moving forward. The challenge we faced over the past years, particularly since the pandemic, has been a tremendous spike in temporary immigration, whether it's visitors or more specifically temporary foreign workers.
The top one is foreign students, second is immigration, third is foreign workers.
International students, along with an increase in asylum seekers. We're moving forward on strengthening the measures around temporary foreign workers to make sure that they really are coming in areas where...
It's just a typical Trudeau crap. He thinks 500,000 people is totally fine. That is not a problem at all. So what we got here is a chart of the temporary foreign worker program in blue and in burgundy, the international mobility program. The difference between these two, I'll read it right off the website. For the temporary foreign worker program, employees must obtain a labor market impact assessment to hire foreign workers to fill temporary labor and skill shortages. The international mobility program lets employers hire temporary workers without the labor market impact assessment. Now, if we look at these years, Stephen Harper was in power for 9 years, so going back from 2014. So basically this section here, and while this did increase, the numbers here, especially if we're looking, the blue went down, the burgundy went up. These numbers have bounced around. It hasn't changed a lot until 2018 here. You know, Trudeau started jacking this up, just like everything. I don't have the other numbers here. Either way, Trudeau has created a problem here, not only here, the immigration, the foreign students, all of it. He's jacked up all of it. So how can you expect there not to be problems? Something else to think about, though, is he thinks immigration has no problem with this, but immigrants are the ones coming in and buying houses. In what world does a temporary worker come in to buy a house? Now, sure, you'll have problems with rentals and too many people when you have all these foreign students and foreign workers coming in, fighting over rentals. That's 100%. But the housing prices are getting jacked because there's too many people buying houses. That's how it works, it's supply and demand. Now we've got asylum seeker numbers here, which obviously is skyrocketed. Even still, though, it's 100,000. What's this, 120,000? So everything is to blame, but I mean, when you double the immigration from 240,000 people up to 500,000, as an additional, 260,000 people, 500,000 per year, is obviously 5 times more than this spike in refugees. So it's everything, but immigration is a huge factor here. The only reason why I think he's hell-bent on saying it's not immigration is because he really wants to convert those new immigrants into voters for him. That's the only play here. He wants them to vote for him, so he's not going to try to point any blame. And I'm not pointing blame at any immigrants. If you've led into this country and you're here, then you're Canadian just like all of us. But we now got to work together to solve this. We actually have to cut immigration off 100% until this problem is fixed. And we can do that by first not voting for Justin Trudeau. So if you are an immigrant in this country, please do what is right by the rest of us here that have been suffering because of these horrible policies. Get Pierre Poilievre in power. We can sort out this problem. Next up, a quick clip of Trudeau lying and stumbling over his words about the Canada carbon rebate. He can't even remember the name of it.
We're going to be there to continue to fight climate change in a way that puts more money in people's pockets every single year. $1,800 is the family of 4 in Alberta receiving with the Canada carbon rebate?
What's the name?
$2,100 if you're in a rural area, which is most of Alberta.
He can't even remember the new name. He's like, what was that thing called again? Next, he's asked about Pierre Poilievre's comments on the LGBTQ situation and basically saying a women's bathroom is for women and men's bathroom are for men.
Pierre Poilievre specifically said that children born biologically male should be banned from female washrooms, changing rooms, sports. Do you think your government has done enough to protect trans rights?
I think Mr. Poilievre and politicians like him are choosing to attack some of the most vulnerable people in our society as a way of deflecting from the fact that they're very good at creating division and anger, but so far they have been terrible at putting forward any concrete solutions for the big problems that all Canadians are facing in their daily lives. They're quick with slogans and buzzwords and culture wars, but they're not doing the work of actually rolling up their sleeves and delivering.
Come on.
330 housing units here, delivered next year, this summer.
Stop, Trudeau. Rolling up his sleeves. Look, I delivered, guys. I just showed up. And these 33 guys behind me here that should be working that are standing around doing nothing because the stupid housing accelerator photo op is stopping them from doing their work. But I'm doing something, guys.
Including over 60% of them affordable.
Guys, just don't worry. 60% of them are deeply, they're somewhat, they're not affordable. Some of them are affordable. Just to break that down for you guys. So a bunch of these units now, like the housing accelerator in Vancouver, I looked at the numbers. It was like 162 units were going to be lower than market value, and 300 of them were going to be 330 or something were going to just be market value, so overpriced. And then there was only like 80 of them that were like really reduced low income rental. This is how we're dividing up buildings now, is like some of them are actually priced properly. Most of them are way overpriced, and only a few, like a very small number, a couple dozen, are actually really low income for people with low income. And you have to win the lottery to get the opportunity to live in one of those. Congrats. So finally here, Pierre Poilievre spills the beans on his policies. Asked about foreign students, but it basically wraps in and shows the whole plan from a high level.
We've seen locally some tension building between post-secondary institutions around the international student cap. We're hearing now that pressure is mounting against the feds to walk that back. What are your thoughts on that?
Thank you. Great question. After 8 years of Trudeau, our entire immigration system is ruined. We used to have the best immigration system in the world, across the board. Permanent, temporary, international students, temporary foreign workers, all of our programs were the best in the world. In fact, they were studied in other countries. Why is it such a success? Why does Canada have so much immigration with so little division? Why is it so uncontroversial? Is what people asked up until 8 years ago. But then Trudeau, through his total incompetence, opened the floodgates in a way that was disconnected from the number of homes to house people and the amount of jobs to employ them. And as a result, the Barrie Bylaw Office discovered there were 25 international students living in the basement of one home. International students live under bridges and on street corners. They're sold into prostitution and gangs. Some go home in body bags. This is the nightmare that Justin Trudeau has unleashed. A common sense conservative government will ensure that if someone comes as an international student, they have to be registered for a real educational institution that offers a real certificate. 2, they have to prove that they have the income to pay their bills while they are here. 3, they have to prove that they have homes. And finally, we'll have a mathematical formula that links population growth to the growth in the supply of housing. The only way to eliminate the housing shortage is to add homes faster than we add people. And when I will be removing bureaucracy to build the homes and setting immigration levels so that our housing stock outgrows our population. That's common sense.
That is common sense. That is the most sound, sane thing I've heard in a long time. So basically, he's saying bring immigration, I'm guessing, to almost zero until our housing numbers are brought back up. And then when he reintroduces immigration, it'll be directly linked to what jobs are available here. He also mentioned in the Andrew Lawton True North interview, attaching that number to how many doctors are available, which is also a good thing, because getting a doctor now in this country is like winning the lottery. You have to know someone and get an inside, like, oh yeah, my friend really needs a doctor. Okay, fine, we'll add you in. Like, it's so hard to get a doctor now. And like he said, and I've said it multiple times myself, it has to be a mathematical formula. I don't know why it wouldn't be anything else. The key question is how long is this going to take to have effect and really start stabilizing our economy and everything, because we have so much debt now and servicing the debt, and just Trudeau's spending is off the charts, and we still have another year and a half for him to further destroy our country. So it's going to be a tough go at it, that's for sure. Hopefully we can all stay positive through this, as it's our only hope. Let me know in the comments down below, how long are you guys willing, as supporters of Pierre POV, how long are you willing to support him in trying to get us out of this mess? Because Jordan Peterson has predicted that people will eventually revolt against him because he's not fixing the problem fast enough, and then there might be this swing back to, elect some dingbat like Mark Carney or something, some stupid liberal, and then the problem will just get worse again. So let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. Hopefully you're all doing well. Be sure to subscribe and turn on those post notifications. Stay warm, stay fed. I'll see you guys in the next one.